Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unlocking You 2.0. Once again, it's me, Spencer Bonin, and Balwinder Marwaha, your practitioner or emotion and body code practitioner and your transformational leadership coach, Balwinder Marwaha. And today we're talking about self-rejection. And, like we said in the title, that we're going to talk about 3 ways to kind of overcome self-rejection and deal with that. But before we even get into that, we're going to start to talk about different reasons or different common signs that you might be doing this yourself. So just some things to look out for. So with that, Bally, what's going on there? What are a couple things that are causing that? Or
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Spencer. I want to introduce self-rejection a little bit because a lot of times we don't realize that we're actually rejecting ourselves. We think it's outside sources. We point the finger other places, but we never really point the finger to ourselves to figure out, hey, what is it that I need to do? So if you're watching this right now, I'd love for you to write in the comments where you're watching from, whether you're watching live or it was a replay. So let's talk about one of the first and biggest ways that we reject ourselves is that we always compare ourselves to others. And the reality is it's been ingrained into us. You know, growing up, our teachers or our parents always compared us to other kids, or our teachers compared us to other students, and that's just how we've been programmed and taught. But we need to erase that. We need to get away from that completely. The only person you should ever compare yourself with is yourself. Nobody else is living the exact same story as you, the same dream, the same shoes, nobody. So it's not fair for you to compare your life with somebody else's, because what's going on in their world is completely different than what's going on in your world. Other people are great at some things. You're great at your things. So do not compare yourself to other people. And that's one of the first things. If you find yourself comparing yourself to others, it's that that you're rejecting yourself in a big way.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for that. And well, so we're gonna move right on to the second thing here. And the second thing, the really common sign is you actually do a lot of self-isolating or isolating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, that could be in a group as well. Like, let's say you go to a party, maybe not during COVID, but you might even find yourself self-isolating in the party, or you just tend to find yourself that you don't want to go out in more public scenarios purely because you think that like you're taking yourself out of the game before you even enter the game, because you're not going out there, you're not interacting. And especially with what we do with emotion code body code, there could be a lot of reasons behind that as well. So the second thing is isolating yourself, kind of taking yourself out of the game before you even kind of get into the game.
Absolutely. Awesome. And so let's go right to number 3 now. How many times have you set yourself a goal and said, hey, I'm going to do this? And maybe it's a weight loss goal. Maybe it's I'm going to get this much done today, or a nutrition goal, whatever it might be. But then you've changed your goal. You've adjusted because you're afraid you won't make it, or you're afraid you won't reach it. Basically, you're not giving yourself that credit. So if you're finding that you're adjusting your goals all the time, again, that's a way that you are rejecting yourself. Stick to something and commit to it and say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this done. I'm not going to just adjust it. I'm not just going to be like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I guess I'll just do this. No, that's not that means you're rejecting yourself, and not acceptable. Can't do that anymore. Spencer, number 4.
Absolutely. So, and the fourth thing is it's something kind of similar here, but it's another really common thing that shows up when you're self-rejecting is letting other people choose your path in life. Now, who out there is doing a job that they probably don't really like or they really might hate? I know I did that for a very long time. I did that for 10 plus years, 13 years of my life. No. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like something like that. Like, a lot of years of my life were working for doing lots of things that I didn't want to do. And other people were kind of telling me how to choose my path. And I let other people make me decide what I wanted to do for different things. So, but by you doing that, you're kind of giving other people the power in your life, and you're rejecting your own heart's wishes. You're rejecting your own self's stuff there, right? So That's another huge sign, or a huge common sign of self-rejection.
Awesome. And so the last thing that we want to talk about that, really comes out, in self-rejection is that, you ever get that instinct or that gut feeling, something that comes up and it's like, oh yeah, something's not right about that, but then you ignore it or you don't listen to it? Well, that's another form of self-rejection. So what's amazing is our subconscious mind. We talk about this all the time on how powerful it is. It's said that we've got two hearts. One's in our heart here, and the other is in our gut. And when you um, don't listen to your gut, it's a form of not listening to your heart. So when you feel something about someone or about something, and maybe it's a good feeling or maybe it's a bad feeling, but you ignore that feeling or you don't follow through on it, or maybe you get an instinct that I probably shouldn't go, meet that person, or I probably shouldn't hang out with that person, or I probably shouldn't eat this, but you do it anyways. Those things, when you ignore your true feelings and your instincts, you are actually self-rejecting yourself. You are rejecting yourself. In a way, you're putting yourself down. So these 5 things, just to quickly recap, is if you find yourself comparing yourself to others, if you isolate yourself, if you're constantly adjusting your goals because you're afraid you won't reach them, if you're letting others choose your path in life and you're ignoring your true feelings and instincts, these are all forms of self-rejection, a
Mm.
form of self-sabotage. You're putting yourself, out of an opportunity, and you're not giving yourself that time that you should be giving yourself. So, Spencer, tell us, how do we stop this? What do we do to, stop self-rejecting?
Absolutely. And I was just going to say, I was like, let's just get right into the 3 ways, right?
Yes.
So, first one coming up, numero uno. The first thing is to just acknowledge that you're your own worst critic. And I mean, I can say this for myself all the time. Bally, you can attest to this.
Yeah.
A lot of the time I beat myself up for a lot of things, and I don't acknowledge. There's a few times throughout my life, I'm sure lots of people kind of go through this, where you are your own worst critic. Every single person is their
Mhm.
own worst critic, because what we imagine in our head is so much worse than what's ever going to happen out in the real world. Like, a lot of the times, the stuff that we imagine up here is absolutely not what's going on out there. And it's really interesting because we're reading that book, The Four Agreements, and it
Mhm.
talks about this part a little bit in the sense of, taking things personally, right? And how we kind of have this thing where it's actually like the most selfish thing we can do is where we think everything, make everything about us.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, but we're our own worst critics. So if you can acknowledge that and you can look
Mhm.
out, we can definitely shift things around. And on top of that, there may be some things subconsciously going on where maybe there's a trapped emotion of self-abuse,
Yeah.
or underlying things that say like I'm unworthy or something along those
Mhm.
lines, that we can kind of pinpoint and find and release as well. So what's number 2, Bally?
Yeah. So it's just loving yourself, man. Embrace your feelings and intuitions. We talked about how don't let others choose your life. Don't ignore them, but just embrace who you are. Embrace what you believe in. That's important. It's irrelevant what other people think or not. They're not living your life. Now, I'm not saying disrespect people. Of course, we don't want to do that, right? But you can't disrespect yourself.
Mhm.
Right? So, just because you're not disrespecting others, does that mean it's okay to disrespect yourself? Heck no, right? So, really embrace your feelings, your intuitions and your gut. And maybe you're watching this thinking, well, man, I don't get a lot of feelings, or I feel like I don't have much intuition. Well, if you don't, we can fix that. We have a solution for you. There could be underlying causes, something called a heart wall that really blocks your feelings, doesn't allow your intuition to come through. Um, Maybe you're not looking in the right places, for those feelings, or you don't in tune with what that intuition should feel like. So again, just really embrace yourself, embrace where you are. Let yourself know that it's okay to feel, it's okay to do this, and it's okay to do it for you and not somebody else. Okay. Spencer, what's the last thing here?
You bet. And coming up at number 3 is remind yourself how amazing you are. Now, if you're a list person, this is going to be great because what you're going to want to do is you want to write a list of all
Mhm.
the things that you've accomplished throughout your life. And a lot of the times we forget to do this, and it's actually
Mhm.
so important. And it can be really hard to do this, but another thing you can do too is you can ask some of your closest friends. You can be like, hey, are there a couple things that you might remember or like that are really good that, because sometimes you can't even remember it or you don't even
Mhm.
acknowledge that it's a good positive thing. So you can get a
Yeah.
little bit of feedback from outside. And sometimes you're like, oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. And they say things that you didn't think of whatsoever, and it just kind of builds your confidence up. And then if
Yeah.
you have this list everywhere you go, or like maybe if it's on your phone, or if you have like a little
Mhm.
thing on your wall that has like a list of your accomplishments or like what your strengths are and stuff, that's going to really just help elevate you. And then, like, let's just say you're going to go to the office or you're going to get right into your work, maybe you're working from home with COVID. If you look at
Mhm.
that list every day before you start work, or even mid throughout the day, you're going to start to feel way better about yourself and remind yourself of all the amazing things that you've accomplished already and just how
Mhm.
amazing you are otherwise. So that is a really important thing
Yeah.
that we need to do on a regular basis, not just a one and done, like that's it. This is
Yeah.
something that we need to like redo over and over again because we forget. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
We forget all the time.
Absolutely.
So
We totally do. Um, and here's the thing, again, just going back from square one, you know, we forget how amazing we are because we're so busy comparing ourselves to other people that we fail to look at our own achievements, our own accomplishments. Whatever, however big or small they may be, they're your accomplishments. Nobody can take them away from you. You've earned them. So, look, at the end of the day, you want to stop self-rejecting. If you reject yourself, you're a lot more likely to be rejected by the world because in your mind, in your eyes, it's okay. Because if you can do it to yourself, then well, what does that mean others can do, right?
yeah,
So let's work on ourselves. Let's make ourselves impeccable in the sense that we're never going to talk down on ourselves. We're never going to put ourselves down. We're going to know that, yeah, maybe there's areas we can improve. We can always grow. We can always become better. Um, Records are always being broken for even the best athletes in the world. Does that mean they weren't great? Absolutely not. They were amazing people. They accomplished amazing things, but just because they were beaten, it doesn't mean that they weren't any good anymore.
yeah,
So let's stop self-rejecting. If you're having issues with this, you do this. Feel free to put a comment below saying, "Hey, I'm guilty of this, and this is what I've done." We'll reach out to you and connect with you and say, "Hey, look, this is how we can fix this. Let's have this conversation. Let's help each other out." With that, I hope you really enjoyed this and got a lot out of it.
yeah.
Let us know in the comments again where you watch from and whether you watch live or in the replay. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Absolutely.